This is your Neepawa Town Council Debrief for the July the 18th, 2023 meeting. The debrief will highlight the key issues being discussed by Council and provide some context for the conversations and information on what the decisions might mean for the town. In Council reports this month, there are several general updates from the councillors as it has been a month since the last Council meeting, but most committees are not embarking on new projects over the summer months. One thing to note is the new date for the Recreation Barbecue, which was hailed out a couple of weeks ago. It will now be held on August the 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. at Riverbend Park. As well, there will be a fundraiser barbecue for hand in the Yellowhead Manor lot on August the 14th.
Council reports. Councillor Nadeau.
Yes, since the last time we met with a number of different boards. One was Westlake Employment Services. Some good news. We're seeing more and more clients at Westlake, so much where we're actually preferring that people call and make appointments as opposed to just walking in. So we're really utilizing the services and our staff very well. We're working on a plan that we submit to the government for approval in order to get access to more funding to allow us to offer more and more services. And other than that, we've been working on some policy with Westlake, and those are the tidbits from that meeting. Western Manitoba Regional Library, we met, and just before June 21st also we met, and we're looking at our agreements between all of the different communities. Carberry would like to make some tweaks also, just as Brandon, but we're looking to make some tweaks overall to update it to 2023 standards. So that's something that we'll have to look at, especially with the new public libraries branch is changing the funding model in the province. So the way libraries get funded is changing, where it's going to be more advantageous for libraries to be part of a region, such as what we are. So that's something that we're seeing evolve over the next year or two. I think we're going to see more from that. Our library continues to offer some great programming. We have lots of books that, especially with June just being past year with Pride Month, we've got lots of books with inclusivity and diversity, and they've been going off the shelves at our public library here in Neepawa. Very, very popular. We've also got some new collections that we're adding. There's a new Neepawa notice board that we've actually got in the library, but it's going to be installed outside of the library, just as what you see at the post office, but it's right in front of the library. It'll be placed there. There's also an adult book club that meets monthly. So if you're really interested in joining an adult book club, that's something that you can consider joining. So those are some of the major things to inform council about what's happening at our public library. On June 29th, the Rossburn Subdivision Trail Association, we met in Sandy Lake, and we're looking at getting the MOUs. I know I brought this about a year ago. We were looking at some drafts together as a council. However, we're looking at, I think at the next meeting, I'll try to bring forward that same draft again. We're looking at bringing it through municipalities that way, where it just outlines again who pays for what on our trail system. And that's something that if there's any questions then they'll come and they'll talk more to answer any questions councils might have. But we're just not seeing it go through because the trail group went and presented to a couple councils who just said thank you, but they didn't really commit to signing. So we're just looking at approaching it a little differently in order to push that through. One really interesting idea that came at our meeting here was Sandy Lake is looking at getting a new kiosk. So as you're coming into the community through the trail, there's this beautiful kiosk. It's dated now and it's been weathered, but it outlines all the highlights of the community. And that's something that, eventually we're looking at doing possibly to all the communities. So that was an idea that was floated around. If we help repair, as a trail group, we help repair Sandy Lake, then we can start doing that to places here also, such as Neepawa. So again, it's kind of like one of those bulletin boards where you list, here's all the cool features of Neepawa that we could have eventually. So that's something I could see over the next few years coming about. So those were some of the main highlights of the meetings I attended over the last month. There's a bunch more, but I won't continue as I know we're short for time here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Nadeau. Councillor Cecil.
So there was 403 rides in June for the handy van. The Canada Day fundraising barbecue that we did, we raised $1,125. So there's a huge thank you to Neepawa Gladstone Co-op for donating all of the supplies for the barbecue for us. And to the town of Neepawa for allowing us to use the barbecue from the park shop there. Handyman will be starting to implement a cancellation policy for their bus. There will need to be 24 hours notice given for the bus now. There will be a fee of $100 if somebody does cancel it within hours of a trip, unless circumstances are out of their hands for it. So. And I do want to also just touch on Canada Day. Canada Day went very well. Heidi Nugent did an awesome job with coordinating everything. The bouncies showed up a little bit late, and there was a little bit of a worry there, but she managed to get everything together. And the volunteers, of course, our Filipino community is amazing. We had a ton of volunteers down there. It ran very well. It was a great day, and the fireworks were awesome. So thank you to our rec department for doing a great job with that. So, yeah.
Excellent, thanks.
I do have a comment.
Okay.
So the town council attempted to have a barbecue for the community. However, there was hail and downpour and all that, and it was an opportunity to drive around town and check out trouble spots, and there was one particular trouble spot at the north end of town. It was being, it's been a concern, but what I was able to witness were all the residents working together to keep the gutter entries unclogged. And because they were working as an effort, and it's just like everybody coming out in a disaster, the water was contained and did drain down the gutter system without going across property into basins or anything. So I'd like to thank all those residents for the effort that they put forth.
Can I add one more thing to that? Because you just reminded me. So the rec barbecue that got hailed out, we will be rescheduling it for Tuesday, August 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. down at Riverbend Park, and we're praying that we don't have hail.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Okay. Councilor Gerard.
Yes, on June 29th, the Finance Committee met here. Really, it was a very brief meeting. It was just to review kind of financial state with some of the large projects on the go and start talking about where those funding's going on, some of the strategic plan. Obviously nothing decided, nothing determined, but just making sure that we're staying on top and on point with financial commitments going forward with the town with a number of large projects going.
Councilor Costa.
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that the 50/50 fundraiser for HAND is still ongoing, and the draw is going to be made August 14th at the HAND fundraiser barbecue, which will be held in the parking lot at the Yellowhead Manor. So that's August 14th. There's still lots of tickets, so
Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
There's only 1,500 printed, so
I got mine. I got the winners already.
so I'm hitting all of you up here. You have to buy tickets.
There were two public hearings at this week's meeting. The first was for the installation of a tile drainage system within the town borders, which could affect downstream landowners. There were no objections to the project, although there were inquiries for more information. And the project manager was on hand to explain the process and welcome any concerned citizens or council members to come and check it out. The second was a variance request for the new hotel being constructed at the corner of Highways 5 and 16 in order to build up to 4 stories. Councillors Gerard and Parrott excused themselves for conflict on this project, and Parrott, as the applicant, spoke to the necessity of the request as well as the belief that as we see more construction in that commercial zone along the highway, the bylaw itself may eventually change to reflect the nature of these businesses.
Okay, I think we'll move into the public hearing for Dale and Sarah Loan. So be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Neepawa do now open this public hearing at 7:05 to hear representation to the variation of Megan Prince, Precision Land Solutions on behalf of Daryl and Sarah Lone. So moved by Councillor Gerard, seconded by Councillor Nadeau. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, so I guess, Scott, do you want to start off?
Absolutely. So the application for this variation is B06-2023N. The current owners of the property is Dale and Sarah Lowen. The applicant would be Megan Prince on behalf of Precision Land Solutions. The current area affected is southeast 4-15-15 west. And the proposal is to intensify the drainage of the land to complement the lot grading and drainage bylaw of the town for the installation of tile drainage on large tracts of vacant land within the town of Neepawa boundaries. And the reason we've been in support of this is the proponent wishes to install drainage tile, which would allow a section of land to be farmable. We have not received any information from surrounding properties. No objections, nobody for. The only thing we've had is more individuals that have been wanting more information.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so I think we have Todd Walker here. Todd, did you want to speak on behalf of?
So it's only 36 acres. The form says a section, but only 36 acres. So all that it is, it's a 50-foot spacing, and there's 3 separate outlets. So it's all done by provincial standards. That's the only way we can get a permit, is for the province to issue us a permit. So it's all done to their standards, like every project is. So I don't know if anybody else had questions on the project. Is this something that's fairly new to the area, or just that it's in kind of close to town? Is that why we go through the planning board, or? Yeah.
Councillor Gerard.
So the tile system, you said there was 3 outlets. Will there be any kind of surface drainage added on top of that? I don't get to see that on there. I just see the tile.
Ours is all subsurface. So
It's all going to be subsurface, and there are going to be controls on all those outlets.
yeah. So anything that would be surface would be a separate application, and that would be something that Dale would want to do on his own. So.
Okay.
So where does the water ultimately drain into?
Well, have you looked at the design? Do you have a picture of
Yeah,
that?
but I don't have it in front of me and I can't remember.
So they're all at the north end, so they go into that water runway at the north end of the piece.
Okay. That
So
was
it's like a grass runway.
It ultimately runs into that little creek, just north of the property.
So it's going to head to the northwest.
Northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah. But if it's entering into this little creek, I think that goes that way.
Okay, any other questions of Todd? Anyone speaking in opposition? All right, thanks, Todd.
I'd just like to say too, if we happen to be doing that piece, anybody's welcome to hop in the plow, and there's a jump seat in there, and you can sit in there and see how it's done firsthand, so you can understand the process, and we welcome people to hop in the plow and have a look what's going on. So,
Yeah.
whether it's council or neighbors or anybody. So.
Yeah. no,
Did we drive it?
I don't know that, but you can sit there and ask questions, so we're very open to that, so help people understand how the process works.
Yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Todd. Okay, if there's no other questions, be it resolved that we now adjourn the public hearing at 7:12 p.m. Moved by Councillor Sisley, seconded by Councillor Kostovchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, we'll move into the next public hearing. This is 100077722 Manitoba Limited, lots 54 and 55. So Councillor Gerard is excusing himself for conflict. Councillor Deputy Mayor Parrott as well. All right. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Neepawa do open this public hearing at 7:15 to hear representation on conditional use and variation application of CU V01-2023 of Murray Parrott on behalf of 100077722 Manitoba Limited. Moved by Councillor Sisley, seconded by Councillor Kostachuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Scott?
Absolutely, I do too. The application number for this one is CU01-2023N, and the current owners of the property is 100077722 Manitoba Limited, and the applicant would be Murray Parrott. The current affected area is 60 Howden Avenue, Lot 54 and 55, Plan 6563-8. The variation for this order is to increase the maximum height of the building from the required 36 feet to the proposed 58 feet 2 inches within the commercial highway zone. And the conditional use is to allow the location of the hotel within the commercial, the CH commercial highway zone. And the reason we'd be in support of it is to allow the construction of a 4-story hotel within the commercial's highway zone. And we have not received any comments or concerns in regard to this proposal.
Okay. Any questions from council at all? Mr. Parrott, would you like to comment on anything?
Well, I appreciate the journey that we've had and the rationale for having a 4-story hotel in the community. And I would imagine future bylaws will be adjusted so that we may have many more large builds in our community. So, if you have any questions, go for it.
So
Councillors.
is the 4-story partly because of the giant water park going in there for the water slide? Is that part of it, or?
The water slide is a 2-story water slide. The 4-story is to accommodate a footprint that is more energy efficient. As we're using a greenstone product, we're getting energy efficient backing on it, but it also contributes to a more financially feasible build by going up.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Doesn't seem to be. Thank you, Mr. Parrott. I don't see anyone else here to talk about things, so be it resolved that we now adjourn this public hearing at 7:19 p.m. Moved by Councillor Nadeau, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Manager of Operations Denise Kay updated council on the progress of several ongoing projects around town, including the Lagoon Phase 2, completion of the Crocus Drive basketball courts, the new tennis courts, and the pool water slide, which is now fully operational. Cleanup of Main Street, or Highway 16 as it runs through town, has begun with town staff examining and dealing with any sightline issues from the intersecting streets. He also noted that motorbikes and quads are not permitted on the bike park or at Park Lake, as they do damage to the landscaping at the parks, and as well, Park Lake is currently an active construction area.
Manager of Operations, Denise.
Thank you. So we've a number of projects that are ongoing. Start with the Lagoon Phase 2. The MVVR tank has been completed. I shouldn't say completed, but the main structure is complete. They've done their dam proofing and backfilling around it. We've done some external links tied together. On the interior of the building, it's coming along as well with the concrete works, and then some steel work on the inside, and then the lab portion is, like I said, coming around great. They also secured the new overhead door that had to be enlarged and another chemical tank in there. So I said, things are moving along nice, and I move the concrete crews back again, start the upper lip of the MVVR tank. The Park Lake project is moving along nicely. Residents may notice that there's some clay harvesting happening right now, so equipment is out there and they're prospecting for clay again. They found it, and now they're just kind of securing, removing, separating out any random through some aggregate mixtures with it, but they've been doing that. The concrete crew as well has made some good progress, so they've been got all the mud slabs poured. They should be tying rebar in there. Probably do an inspection of that this week as well to see how they've come along, but we'll hopefully start seeing some of that main rear structure being poured in the coming weeks once we get some of that concrete. We'll be doing it in block sections at a time. It'll be quite the event. Basketball courts and crocus have been completed, as some of the posts have shown. We'll probably just put some vehicle obstructions up just to block anyone from driving down there, but also extend the parking slightly down that street. We've also had contractors busy with sidewalk repairs, replacements, renewals all around town, as some residents may have noticed. Also, the pool water slide has been fully open and operational now. We haven't heard of any major hiccups. There's been a few maintenance issues, but they all seem to be resolved and being discussed. So, notable areas of concern would also be the Park Lake and the highlight back 40s that we're seeing dirt bikes and quads starting to drive into those areas. They are off limits, especially the bike park. We don't want to see any quads or dirt bikes running around in there. They'll do substantial damage. And it's also a hindrance to people walking or riding bikes there. We don't want to see them run over. Park Lake is an active construction site, so we ask people to stay off of it. There is still concerns of people walking through and poking around. We ask that you stay off the site completely. Residents may have noticed that we've started some Main Street cleanup. There were some sightline issues at the corner of Main Street and 5th Avenue. So we've engaged surveyors to mark out where the property line was to ensure that we were removing stuff that was on the right-of-way properly. So staff will be going down that section of Main Street and gradually removing any hedges or trees, anything that we deem as an obstruction of view sightlines. I think it could cause some safety issues for traffic, both on Main Street or on the avenues. That's everything I've got, unless someone's got some questions. Well, I guess the tennis courts.
You beat me.
Have been. The tennis courts have been completed. We'll be in talks. The fencing contractor has been engaged. We just don't have a date when they'll be here. And we're also trying to secure the net so at least people could get on there in the interim. But I believe our painter guy still has the nets because he never left them as far as I know here.
Just to comment, I've seen people now with tennis rackets out on the old basketball court out there, like they're itching to, I mean, the ideal is a completed project, but I think even to get pickleball there and make use of those courts, we have such a short summer as it is. We're down to about, not to depress anyone, about 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, but those courts look impressive.
Just a question, the route down to the bird sanctuary, that street's getting repaired, Denise?
First Avenue and Mountain Avenue, just the very south limits of those on the hill are being replaced completely.
Okay.
Profile paving is in town. They started the patchwork, so again, residents have to be cautious and patient and understand there's going to be some disruptions as they remove and excavate, and we have to wait for the paving crews to kind of come in and pop them. They're going to prep a couple before they start paving. So please be patient and respect the no drive zones, otherwise you may damage your vehicle.
Being back.
Yeah.
Well, yes, well, it was on the holidays. Beanbag toss, a cornhole, did show up, and I think it was installed down at the park.
Just by the pool, and they can get the bean bags from the pool staff. Same as they did this.
Excellent.
I would like to reiterate the comment about the park like tours. It's non-stop. I see people walking through there, biking through there. Everyone's curious. If there's any way we could get some more photos put up, maybe we could share with the community.
I could take press banner or NCTV down there. I could take with a guided tour. On
That would be
controlled
helpful.
walk, yeah, which would be fine.
I mean, just even to answer questions, because I mean, the
Yeah.
residents are just everywhere you go. It's what's happening there, and
The main question is, what is that noise? The running of water or whatever it is
That-
that's steady. That's what I get. And I listen to it. It sounds like it's just constantly.
the pump, the one
It's a
pump.
pump.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good
Yeah.
sound.
So that big island, or the big mountain of dirt that they got there, is there any way of leaving it in the middle of the lake?
Nope, that's all fill material again for the bankment side.
Okay.
I think people just have a better understanding about the project. Like a tour and some information would be fantastic. Because are they still proposing that that lake might be filled for 2024? Is
I
that the
believe
idea?
so. Like, as it sits right now, I think when we look at their schedule, they're 2 weeks behind schedule. The concrete crew is hoping to bring in additional staff and laborers to help speed up their portion on the concrete side, but on the bank restoration side of things, they're still looking at how to try to speed up those construction sites. So they're coming up with some options and solutions. So
I see they hired a beaver to dam it up upstream.
control water.
Control.
Works for Canada.
Okay, thanks Denis. A lot of great projects being completed. That's great.
CAO Colleen Sinchishin shared correspondence including information on endowment funds from the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation and statistics from the Spruce Plains RCMP's quarterly report. As well, Council addresses a tax roll deletion for the house that was destroyed by fire this winter, as well as an increase to mobile home licensing fees.
All right, correspondence. Colleen.
The first one is from Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. They're a registered charity serving Neepawa area whose goal is to preserve and enhance quality of life in the community. They do this by growing endowment funds and making annual grants to many non-profit organizations. They serve the area of Neepawa, Rosedale, Glenilla, Lansdowne, and the Langford portion of the Arm and North Cypress Langford. They are responsible for many funds designated, donor-advised, and undesignated. With the needs of the communities increasing, the foundation is always looking for ways to grow the endowment fund. So they're asking for your support to increase the existing endowment funds or to grow a fund to support the upcoming new hospital for equipment and furnishings. And of course, they have recognized support levels starting at $500 and going as high as you want, 10,000 plus. You can direct your donation as you so choose, and they need your support to continue the work in the community. And I guess the only advice I would give you is whether you choose to do this or not, you do have a health facility reserve fund, which is already established in the municipal jurisdiction of governance to set aside funds for a hospital. So whatever your wish is.
Okay, any thoughts?
Giving grant money away for them to give grant money away. Yeah. I think it's best served as a private donation to the entity, not through the town.
Technically, we're doing similar
Yeah,
already. We
we're
invest
already
in-
doing that.
Yeah. I don't think it was specific. These were given out to many,
Yes.
or like pretty much everybody was getting these. We were just on their list as well. So.
Agree that the town will be contributing to the hospital.
Yes.
A large scale.
Significantly.
Yeah. Okay, federal gas tax.
So from Chambers Fraser, this is a report they have to file. It's an annual expenditure report. And for basically December 31st, 2022, the unspent fund balance at the beginning of the year was $953,981, and at the end of the year, sitting in our reserve is $1,079,560. So this is just a formal report they have to give to Canada for tracking and reporting on the funds that they give us through the gas tax funding, and we have to submit a report through our account.
Okay. Questions? Not, our CNP report.
This is a quarterly report for April 1st to June 30th, and during that period in Spruce Plains, there was 218 charges and 42 warnings issued, and 3 physical check stops. 90 roadside breath samples were taken at the various check stops, checking for alcohol impairment, and 1 driver was charged with refusing a breath demand. 1 driver was charged with having alcohol in the blood as a novice driver, and 2 received 72-hour immediate roadside prohibitions as a result of the alcohol readings. Under reducing crime and preventing crime during this quarter, the Spruce Plains area had 5 offender management files open. There were 25 curfew checks performed on these subjects. As a result of the checks, 4 subjects were breaching their conditions. 2 subjects have been arrested and held in custody. The remaining subjects have either been charged or there are active arrest warrants issued and their whereabouts are unknown. Under crime prevention, they're looking at setting up several larger scale crime prevention projects to help address root causes of crime. And of course, they ran the 9 p.m. routine from May 22nd to June 4th in several communities, which was very well received. Speaking about communication efforts, they continue to attend council meetings as requested or necessary, and they are quite often stopping in at the various municipal offices across their jurisdiction to make sure the connection and communication is there. Total calls, if you're looking and measuring this quarter to last quarter in 2022-23, there's a very, very slight increase in the number of services and calls that were placed. Points of interest, more specific to Neepawa, 35 traffic tickets have been written in Neepawa during the last quarter and 22 written warnings issued. There's a noted increase in reported fraud or scam type calls, and they encourage people to visit the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre online for more information, stay up to date, because the scams are ever changing. There's a new one all the time. They also participated in controlling traffic at the Filipino Heritage Parade on June 17th. They've been doing, with school winding down in June, they were doing a lot of detachment tours for school-aged children. And then, of course, they hosted their RCMP 150th anniversary, and they did a little event here in Neepawa called The Amazing Adventure, which saw youths from grades 5 to 7 get RCMP-related clues, which took them to various iconic waypoints in the town of Neepawa. The adventure ended with a barbecue with some incredible prizes such as a PlayStation 5, iPad, and gift cards. And so 12 lucky individuals walked away with a prize. And what they also did as part of preparing for this event, they partnered with the middle school and made several visits. And they talked about road and bike and scooter safety with all of the youth. They currently have 1 vacant position in the Spruce Plains area. It's the corporal position in Minnedosa. An individual has been selected for the position, but is currently awaiting a house sale to be able to come this way sometime late summer or fall. We currently have 2 constables in the process to transfer north, and 1 will be transferred by the end of July, with the other by the end of the summer. And to replace those 2 constables have received their initial paperwork to transfer into Spruce Plains, and they will be arriving in the fall. And they just hired a new .6 public servant for the Mendoza office, which by the time this all rolls by fall, they expect to be fully staffed in Spruce Plains by fall.
Supplemental tax deletion, Colleen?
So normally we do supplemental tax additions and deletions in September, October of each year. This one is a little bit of an anomaly. It relates to the house that burned down in January of 2023. And it was a 342 Walker. So rather than carrying that through our books, the property owners of the deceased at that particular location wanted this corrected. So I'm asking you to approve a deletion of roll 62200 in the amount of $792.10 due to a house fire and demolition for this year.
Okay. The motion reads, be it resolved that in accordance with section 326 of the Municipal Act, we hereby approve a supplementary tax deletion to roll 62200 in the amount of $792.10 as a result of a structure fire and subsequent demolition of the dwelling at 342 Walker in January 23. Moved by Councillor Nadeau, seconded by Councillor Kostenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mobile home licensing code.
So under bylaw 3032, which was established in 2006, you gave yourselves provision to every year alter the annual license fee for mobile homes. And what this does is you take a look at what you charged for your regular taxpayers under the property rules, and you apply that increase, but that increase has to move forward into the next year. The reason we do this early enough is because under the rental units that are, I can't remember the name of it now, the rental standards in the province of Manitoba, you have to give sufficient notice to people when you're increasing basically their rent, even though this is taxes in lieu technically. So we're recommending what the levy increase was 9.7% increase, and in comparison to last year, which was 0.64. So and if you look roughly, just for interest sake, over the last 5 years and equate it out, so roughly 2% a year increase over the last 5 years, even though 9.47 looks like a big increase, it is not when you take a look at the last 5. So 9.47% increase in mobile homes.
Okay, questions? Okay, be it resolved that we approve the increase of 9.47 to the mobile home licensing fees for 2024 under the authority of the bylaw 3032. Moved by Councillor Gerard, seconded by Councillor Nadeau. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Council revisited a bylaw violation that was last addressed several months ago when the respondees brought a delegation to council to request lenience in order for them to keep more animals than is allowable under town bylaws. While they do have fewer animals now than they did at the time, they are still double the number allowable, and significant improvements have not been made regarding the issues that brought the complaint forward in the first place. After some discussion, council elected to remain firm on the bylaw.
So I have a letter here. I'm gonna make the assumption that you all read this letter. The letter came from Mary and Lebedinsky. This is following up on their attendance at council on February 21st of this year, where they were approached by our bylaw enforcement officer suggesting there were several infractions of the animal control bylaw. Animals running at large, unlicensed, they weren't vaccinated. There was various things, barking, they were always out, those types of things. And they were asking you serve them some leniency for the amount of animals that they were allowed to have there as well. So the letter kind of follows up on that. Not a lot of significant improvement was made. In March, after that council meeting, they were issued a letter citing all the infractions, and they were told that they had a July 2nd deadline that they could basically keep 2, which is what the bylaw allows. There are still 4 dogs there. They have tried to home some of them. I don't know what efforts they have made. Of course, our bylaw enforcement officer isn't here to speak to that. They're hoping for you to give them leniency to allow to keep the final 4 dogs there. And I guess that's your decision. Our recommendation here, and coming from the bylaw enforcement officer, is that your caution of you allow 1, there'll be others wanting the same provision. The bylaw is in place for a certain reason. And is there people out there that have more than that? Maybe. But we can only deal with these things by addressing them when they come to our attention, by the fact that the community is engaged in what's going on and complaining here at the office. So whatever your will is.
Okay, discussion?
I'll speak to it. I mean, no one likes to be the bad guy in this case, and I guess we wrote the bylaw, or the bylaw was written a number of years ago. I don't know the age of the dogs. I don't know. I mean, we can be lenient as to saying that they do have to get down to 2 dogs, but that is still the standard within the area. I'm not saying that we have to go in and forcibly remove 2 dogs, but I do think we do have to hold them to working towards that. If they're elderly dogs, that they're not replaced, but we've got to move that property to that point and let them know that if there's a complaint from neighbors that we have to act on it. As you know, yeah.
No, I agree. I think our bylaws are set up for reasons, and unfortunately, it doesn't work for everyone. But there has to be some rules in place to try and keep a safe community. Anyone else?
I would agree with that as well.
So I'm hearing there'll be no heavy-handed approach, but we're gonna have more consistently and constantly. Do you wanna, extend that deadline for some progress of some sort?
Yeah, I would
Well, I
think
think my personal opinion is they've had the time and they're trying to go for the mercy, and it's like I mentioned, it's hardcore, you feel bad, but there's a reason for not wanting concentration of dogs in one spot.
I would say I'm not looking for the heavy hand. I'm just saying that we have to continue to work towards getting
Make it
this.
happen.
Yeah.
We can't just say indefinitely.
Yeah, I'm not saying to take down the control and mark down and move 2 dogs. Because that's the heavy hand.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be that person. I mean, and I don't know the situation that brought 4 dogs there. Was someone relocating that had to?
Well, there was.
At one point there was a litter of pups, and that they were well beyond the what was allowed by our bylaw. So, but we've got to continue to work our way towards that number.
But I do think we need to give our bylaw officer some very clear definitions of what his action should be, so that he's being given support by us to do his job. So we need to give him clear actions, whatever that ends up being.
Spit it out.
Seize the dogs. If they're not willing to get them to homes, seize the dogs. That's my opinion. Enforce the law. It's not a pleasant one, I know. I'm one of 7.
Okay, so move forward with some. Mark?
Have him approach them and say that number still has to get to 2. It still has to get moved to 2.
Yeah.
And I think that we will continue to follow that up. Yeah.
The town will be making an application to the Water Services Board to assist with the water and sewer lines to the new hospital, which are now estimated at between $5 and $7 million. There may be potential for them to increase their funding ratio beyond the standard 50-50. The portion that Neepawa does have to pay will count as an in-kind contribution towards the amount that the town is required to contribute towards the construction of the new hospital.
Water and sewer infrastructure.
So we all know we're working on plans and designs to create the situation whereby we're going to have sewer and water go out to the new hospital. Early estimates of this project were roughly going to be $4.8 million. We are actually at a point, though, as we understand what we need to put the water and sewer there, we're probably poking somewhere between $5 and $7 million now. Water Services Board is prepared to assist with this project. Their number, though, that they had in mind as we've been speaking is around the $5 million estimate. So should we agree and proceed to tender stage and get a better idea what our number is, it will help us to know where we go forward. Should they not be able to find it in their funding to assist us, of course, then we'll have to, provide the balance as well. But they've been very good to work with us on this, understanding this is a regional hospital. Neepawa taxpayers should not bear the burden, where others are not, per se. Of course, having said that, we all know our contribution to capital of the $6 million that we're supposed to find as part of the hospital project can come in the form of in-kind, which would mean our water and services would serve that purpose. So tonight I'm asking for a resolution requesting the Manitoba Water Services Board provide technical and financial assistance for this project, whatever that may be. Definitely probably half of the $5 million for now. And that the second part is that if there is any possibility that they could increase the funding ratio from a 50-50 split to something different, because it is a more of a regional project, that would be great if they would consider that. So they need the resolution before I leave here tonight, because they need it first thing in the morning. So.
Okay, any questions? Okay, the motion reads, be it resolved that we hereby request technical and financial assistance from the Manitoba Water Services Board to complete the water sewer servicing extensions to the Northeast Development Project for the purposes of servicing a new regional hospital. Be it further resolved that since the hospital will serve the province as a regional hub, consideration be given to increasing the funding ratio to lessen the burden that will be directly and specifically borne by property owners within the municipal jurisdiction of Neepawa. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott, seconded by Councillor Kostachuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Finally, we have a pair of requests for very short street closures for upcoming events. The first is for the section of Brown Street directly in front of the Legion for the arrival of the Rolling Barrage on August the 13th between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. Now, the Rolling Barrage is an annual bike journey across the country to raise funds and awareness for PTSD among military personnel and first responders. The second is for the portion of Burke Avenue between Arts Forward and White's Funeral Home, and this is for the Children's Business Fair on August the 10th between the hours of 2:30 and 6:30 p.m. to allow for additional businesses from the children. Both of these were passed by council.
Rolling Barrage.
So once again, this is the third year in a row that Rolling Barrage is coming to Neepawa. They will arrive here on August 13th at 6 p.m. and they'll be leaving the next day at 8 a.m. This is an annual fundraiser in support of veterans, active duty military, and first responders with PTSD. So when they arrive, there is going to be a public event starting at 6 p.m. for everyone to come talk to them, make donations, view the bikes, and whatnot. The local first responders have also been invited to attend, and the Legion will then serve them basically at supper at 7 p.m. So in order to accommodate the community interest in this particular event, a street closure is requested for Brown Avenue from Hamilton Street to Davidson Street, and this is just basically right in front of the Legion. And the closure will be from 6 p.m. to 8:30. And council is invited to attend from 6 to 7 to support this initiative. So they're looking for your permission to close that portion of the street for that period of time.
Davidson's at the top of the hill.
Right in front of the Legion.
Yeah, so might I suggest we close Brown at the bottom of the hill?
No, they didn't ask for that, Marie.
No, I know, but just so that you don't have people driving up and then having to stop at the top.
Well, they'll turn the corner.
Yeah, no.
It'll work.
Yep.
They'll still have access.
Still have access.
East or
They
west.
can take east-west on Davidson, they just
They
can't.
go.
Oh, okay.
Just
okay.
in front of the Legion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, motion reads, be it resolved that we approve the closure of the portion of Brown Avenue from Hamilton Street to Davidson Street on August 13th, 2023 from 6 to 8 to enable the hosting of the Rolling Barrage. Moved by Councillor Kostachuk, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, this one, what have we got here? Children's Business Fair?
So this is another request from the Board of the Arts Forward. They're looking for just a partial street closure as well for the Neepawa Economic Development Children's Business Fair event being held in conjunction with the regular farmers market. And Marilyn Crew was actually at a meeting at the previous that she spoke to you about. This will be the first time we've organized a business fair for children. I think right now they have 17 tables asked for. It's been quite popular. It's going to be Thursday, August 10th. So they're looking at, for that piece on Borg Street, to be basically north of Arts Forward, so between Arts Forward and White Street Home. So the only two impacted are those two businesses, and everybody else on the street would have the ability to go easterly down the street. So, yeah, from 2:30 to 6:30 on August the 10th, so that they can set up all of the new entrepreneurs in conjunction with the farmers market.
Okay, questions? If not, motion reads, be it resolved that we approve the closure of the portion of Burke Street from Mountain to the east property line of Arts Forward White's Funeral Home on August 10th at 2:30 to 6:30 in order to host the Neepawa Economic Development Children's Business Fair. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott, seconded by Councilor Kostanchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Also covered were routine correspondence and the regular financial report. You can view end-to-end coverage of the Town Council meeting elsewhere in the NAC TV schedule, including immediately following this. If you have comments, questions, or topics we may be able to shine some light on, please do reach out to us 204-476-2639, by email at nactvnews@gmail.com, or on social media at Neepawa TV. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.